This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can
Yes,
I start
ma'am.
the class? Okay. Today's class is on cord prolapse. So, before going to the main topic, we'll go regarding the cord. The umbilical cord is the one which links the fetus to the placenta, and it is the fetal lifeline. The cord is between 30 to 60 centimeters in length. Average, it will be about 50 centimeters. It is covered outside by amnion and blends with the fetal skin at the umbilicus. Okay. Then inside the cord has thick jelly will be present, that is known as Wharton jelly. Through the jelly, what will be there? This is jelly is mainly to protect it. It contains two umbilical arteries and one vein. Umbilical vein will be present in a spiral arrangement. Here, I think you can see here. This is arranged in a spiral manner. Outside there will be a Wharton jelly. It will give protection for these vessels. The umbilical cord contains one vein and two arteries. See, have you seen? Can you see here the arteries blue color? Usually, normally the arteries will carry saturated blood. So in vice versa, it will be, but in intrauterine life, the arteries carry deoxygenated blood and veins carry oxygenated blood. See here, this is the umbilical vein, two arteries, Wharton jelly around to give protection. Okay. See from where this cord is developed. It is developed from the connective tissue of our body stalk. Initially, it is attached to the caudal end of the embryonic disc, but as a result of cephalocaudal folding of the embryo and simultaneous enlargement of the amniotic cavity, the amino-ectodermal junction converges on the ventral aspect of the fetus. As the amniotic cavity enlarges out of proportion of the embryo is carried more and more into the cavity with simultaneous elongation of connective stalk, the future umbilical cord. So the circulation is the reverse of the adult here. In that the vein carries the oxygenated blood to the fetus and arteries carry venous blood back to the placenta. This you have to remember. Normally the cord inserts into the center of the placenta. Okay. But there are so many varieties or placenta are there where the cord insertion is eccentric. Usually it inserts at the center of the placenta. Coming to the class, cord prolapse. In this situation, what will happen? The umbilical cord lies beside or below the presenting part. The incidence is usually 0.3 to 0.6%, that is 1 in 300 deliveries. It has high fetal mortality rate because of cord prolapse. What will happen? Whenever there is prolapse, there will be compression of the umbilical cord between the presenting part and the maternal pelvis. So whenever there is compression, what will happen? The blood supply will be curtailed. Whenever the blood supply is reduced, oxygen concentration will be reduced. The fetus go into anoxia that leads to death of the fetus. See, there are three varieties of cord prolapse. Will come from down, occult cord prolapse. Third one. Here what will happen? It is present by the side of the presenting part. I will show the diagrams. See, here is the fetus. It is present by the side of the presenting part. This cord is there. This is the umbilicus. This is the placenta. This is the cord. This cord has come below the by the side of the presenting part. Here what will happen? It has come below the presenting part. This is completely down. Okay. This is occult prolapse. This is the cord presentation, and this is cord prolapse, complete cord prolapse. This is occult presentation is head and umbilical cord will be present simultaneously, side by side. We'll go back. See, we'll come to the occult cord prolapse. The cord is not palpable, but it is being compressed by the presenting part. Usually, this we can't diagnose clinically. Only thing we can diagnose by ultrasonography and sometimes during cesarean section, because we can visualize the both cord and baby visually. Umbilical cord presentation. This is cord is seen on the ultrasound and palpated on pelvic examination also. Because it has come just below the fetal presenting part, we can palpate through vaginal examination. Not only that, we can diagnose by ultrasound also. Umbilical cord prolapse proper. Here the membranes are ruptured and the cord is palpated below the presenting part. Okay. How many types are there? 3 types. Occult cord prolapse, umbilical cord presentation, umbilical cord prolapse. Occult cord prolapse, the cord is present by the side of the presenting part. We can't diagnose clinically. Only through ultrasound and by cesarean section we can diagnose. Umbilical cord presentation. Here what will happen? The cord will come just below the presenting part, so that the cord can be palpated vaginally and it can be diagnosed by ultrasound also. In umbilical cord prolapse, complete prolapse, here the membranes are ruptured and the cord is palpated below the presenting part. See here, umbilical cord presentation, that is the unique presentation. Umbilical cord prolapse is the complete prolapse. Occult is the one which is present side by side. Okay. So here the membranes will be usually intact. Here the membranes are ruptured in umbilical cord prolapse. Here the cord slips down below the presenting part. That is the reason why we can diagnose cord clinically by vaginal examination. Okay. Then umbilical cord prolapse seen through cervical os lying inside the vagina or outside the vulva also we can diagnose cord prolapse. It is descended along the, but not past the presenting part. So I already told you the umbilical cord is present side by side but not beyond the presenting part. Beyond the presenting part is the one unique presentation. Complete down outside is complete cord prolapse. So by pelvic examination, feeling of pulsation of cord. How we can diagnose that it is cord? Simple by palpation. We can feel the pulsations because of it contains 2 arteries, 1 vein. So that pulsations we can feel. Here what will happen in complete cord prolapse? Palpated directly by fingers. We can diagnose visually, we can see, and it also can be diagnosed by examination, by palpating, and pulsations can be felt. And during contractions, what will happen? The pulsations will cease. Here we can diagnose only by ultrasound and C-section. In all the umbilical cord prolapse, but the first thing we can diagnose is variable deceleration in electronic fetal monitoring. This is very much important whenever the patient is having contractions and the fetus is having variable deceleration. Always think of cord compression or the cord might be getting prolapsed. Okay. See, this is the example. This is the below the presenting part. Here also the same thing. Here also the below the presenting part. These are all the unique varieties. Here the membranes are ruptured also. So it is complete cord prolapse. Already this diagram already I told you. This is side by side it is. Here it has come just below the presenting part. It is completely outside the pelvis. And what are the risk factors for why this cord prolapse will come? For whom it will come? See, the fetal risk factors will be already what should happen? The presenting part which is present below which is at the level of occupying the lower pole of the uterus should be tightly fit with the pelvic cavity. Otherwise, what will happen? There will be a gap. If it is not tightly fit, then what will happen? There will be a gap that leads to chances for the cord prolapse. So what are the conditions you should remember? Transverse lie, breech presentation, especially footling, compound breech, prematurity, PROA, where the membranes are ruptured, and long umbilical cord. Not as a normal, usually for up to 60 centimeters. If it is long umbilical cord, that is around 100 centimeters, what will happen? There are more chances for rupture of the membranes and the prolapse of the cord. If the presenting part is unengaged, so if it is not engaged, it is not tightly fit into the lower uterine segment, then what will happen? There will be a gap and there are chances for the prolapse. Then comes the multiple gestation. Okay, so fetal conditions will be transverse lie, breech, prematurity, PROM, long umbilical cord, unengaged presenting part, and multiple gestation. Coming to the maternal side, multiparity, contracted pelvis, uterine malformations, and pelvic deformities. In all these conditions, there are chances for cord prolapse. And coming to the placental causes, whenever the placenta is located in the lower uterine segment. So, what are the conditions called? Placenta previa. If the placenta is in the lower uterine segment, the cord will come and attaches to the center of the placenta, isn't it? So, there are more chances for the cord also to be in the lower part of the uterus. That is the reason there is chances in the placenta previa. And also not only that, usually, sometimes, very rarely, normal is the cord attaches in the center of the placenta. Sometimes there can be marginal insertion of the placenta. At the edge of the placental edge, it can get attached. That is known as marginal placenta. That is the condition. Also, we can find out cord prolapse. And sometimes what will happen, even ourselves, even the doctor itself can, by iatrogenically, can rupture the membranes. And sometimes external cephalic version, rupture of membranes can lead to cord prolapse. Internal cephalic version, and always stabilize the presenting part before doing ARM. That is a precautionary method we have to do. Artificial rupture of membrane. Most of the time, whenever you rupture the membranes, whenever the cord prolapses, the first sign will be bradycardia or prolonged variable deceleration. I already told you. When these occur, as soon as you rupture the membranes, always do digital examination, and we have to see what are the things we have to see whenever you do rupture of membranes. Can anyone tell me? Okay, I will tell you. Whenever you rupture the membranes, always see the color of the lichen. Number one. Number two, do PV examination to rule out any cord prolapse. Number two. Number three, you see the dilatation of the cervix. Number three. Number four, what we have to do to confirm the station. Sometimes even the floating head, when you do rupture of membranes, once the fore water has gone, it will come to the next station of the pelvis. So four things we have to see, and fifth one is fetal heart rate. So whenever you rupture of membrane, you have to see the color of the lichen. You have to see the rule out cord prolapse. Number three, dilatation and station of the presenting part. Number five is fetal heart rate. We have to compulsorily, we have to check all these five things when you rupture membrane. So feeling and seeing the cord in the vagina, or when you feel the pulsations. So you can confirm by doing PV examination. And what are the problems? So what will happen? Nothing will happen to the mother. The problems mainly comes to the fetus. What's the problems you will get for the fetus? Risk of anoxia. Oxygen concentration will be reduced. Prognosis related with the interval between the detection and delivery. So this is very much important. If it takes long time to deliver the baby, the ideal time is 10 to 30 minutes. Whenever you find a cord prolapse, if you can deliver the baby either by cesarean section or by vaginal delivery, the mortality can be reduced to 5 to 10%. But if there is interval is long between the cord prolapse and the delivery of the baby, because of anoxia, what will happen? There will be perinatal mortality. The fetus may go into death. And for the mother, what is the problems? Only cesarean section she might have, or anesthesia, risk of anesthesia, and sometimes blood loss and infection. This is same for cesarean section. Anticipation and early delivery. How you can anticipate? By doing internal examination, I already told you, by surgical induction, and should exclude cord presentation or cord prolapse. In unexplained fetal distress, that is, decelerations will be present. How you are going to manage? How you are going to manage? Baby, this mainly depends on degree of dilatation of the cervix, maturity of the baby, and the third one is whether the baby is live or dead. These are the three things we'll consider in delivering in management protocol. So definitive treatment is cesarean section. Immediately, as soon as if the delivery is not possible vaginally, always go for cesarean section. If you deliver the baby within 30 minutes, you can save the baby. If the immediate delivery is possible and the head is engaged, if breech is by, you can deliver. If the breech is there by breech extraction. Transverse lie is there. You can do internal version followed by breech extraction. If the head is engaged and fully dilated, we can cut short the second stage of labor and immediately we can deliver by forceps or ventouse. Okay? If immediate safe vaginal delivery is not possible, what are the things we have to do? First aid management is, if the delivery is not possible immediately, how to minimize the pressure on the cord is important till the patient is prepared for delivery. Okay, the pressure on the cord should be lessened. What are the things we have to do then? Oxytocin, if she is on labor, if she is on syntocinon drip, immediately stop syntocinon, because syntocinon will accelerate contraction. Whenever the contraction is there, there will be compression of the cord by presenting part, isn't it? That's why we have to stop oxytocin drip immediately and give oxygen by face masks to the mother. Number 3, the bladder filling to be done to raise the presenting part of the compressor cord. What will happen when you fill the bladder? It will give the bladder refilling done to raise the presenting part of the compressor cord till such time the patient has delivered, either by cesarean section or vaginally. So what to do? Bladder to be filled with 400 to 750 ml of normal saline with a Foley's catheter. The balloon is inflated and catheter is clamped. So we have to fill the bladder with 400 to 750 ml of normal saline and the catheter to be clamped, and the bladder is emptied before cesarean section or before the time of delivery. And one more thing is postural treatment. Postural treatment is 2 methods we can do. One is exaggerated or elevated Sims position. What we can do here, we can keep a pillow or something wedged under the hip or thigh. I'll show the diagram. Next, Trendelenburg or knee chest position. This is mainly to replace the cord into the vagina or to minimize the vasospasm. Whenever the cord exposes to the environment, outside the environment, what will happen? There will be vasospasm in the vessels. That leads to anoxia to the baby. That's why to relieve the vasospasm, these positions are important and this will helpful for the cord replacement into the vagina. See, this is the knee chest position. What has happened? The presenting part has, the position has changed. There is chance for the keeping the cord into the vagina. Here is the exaggerated Sims position. Here we are. This is the Trendelenburg position. The woman hips are elevated with two pillows. This is often combined with the Trendelenburg head down position. This is the gloved hand in the vagina pushes the fetus upward and off the cord like this. Okay. Knee chest position uses gravity to shift the fetus out of the pelvis. This woman's thighs should be at right angle to the bed and her chest flat on the bed. Okay. So exaggerated Sims position and Trendelenburg positions are important. Okay. See, this is the cord prolapse. So baby is live or death, we have to see. Then maturity of the baby and cervical dilatation. See, if the baby is dead, nothing to worry. Confirm with ultrasound before we announce that, because even the pulsations are not felt, the baby can be alive. Wait for the spontaneous delivery. If it is not possible, we can go for hysterectomy operation or cesarean section. Last resort. If the baby is alive, what to do? Immediately, she is not going to deliver, then go for cesarean section. If immediate delivery is possible, the vertex presentation, go for forceps and ventouse to cut short the second stage of labor. In breech presentation, breech extraction to be done. If the baby is alive, immediate vaginal delivery is not possible. What to do? I already told you. We have to keep the patient in exaggerated Trendelenburg and the elevated Sims position or knee chest position. Bladder filling to be done. So facial oxygen mask to the mother to be kept, and we have to wait for the definitive management. So I think you understand this. And management of occult cord prolapse. Vaginal delivery is safe if there are normal fetal heart rate patterns. In case of abnormal fetal rate, emergency cesarean section to be done. If the baby is dead, confirm by USG. Without confirmation by USG, we are not supposed to announce that the baby is dead. Wait for spontaneous delivery, or we can go for hysterectomy operation. Women at risk are, how we can prevent? Transverse lay, unstable lay, always they should be admitted 3 weeks before the date of delivery. Controlled amniotomy, that is controlled rupture of membranes to be done in case of polyhydramnios. Vertex well applied to cervix. Prevent early rupture of membranes by keeping the patient on bed. And do rupture of membranes only when the head is engaged. Because if the head is unengaged, there are more chances for cord prolapse. Thank you. Next, one more small chapter is there. That also I will tell you. Hello, can you hear me? Different inversion. Today's topic, other topic, small topic is on uterine inversion. What is in the ఎంతమంది ఉన్నారు ఒకసారి చూడమాటండి. So what is uterine inversion? This is the third stage delivery complication, fatal to the mother, and what will happen? There will be inside uterus fundus will be outside. Instead of inside, it will be outside. Fundus of the uterus will be outside. So what are the types of uterine inversion? The types can be if the inversion occurs within 24 hours of delivery, or subacute inversion occurs within 24 hours to 4 weeks of delivery, and chronic inversion after 4 weeks of delivery. Okay. It can be two types, incomplete or complete. Incomplete is the fundus of the uterus turned inside, but the inverted fundus has not descended through the cervix. That is, there will be just dimpling. Dimpling will be present at the level of fundus, and that dimpling, the fundus is not gone beyond the internal os. In complete inversion, the fundus has gone through the cervix to lie in the vagina or outside the introitus. What are the degrees of inversion? First degree is there is incomplete inversion, that is dimpling will be present, just a depression at the fundus, but the fundus is not gone beyond the internal os. Second degree, complete inversion into the vagina. Here the fundus has gone beyond the cervix at the level of internal os, beyond the cervix, and it lies in the vagina. Third degree is complete inversion where the fundus is outside the vagina. See here, this is the first degree where the fundus is just a little bit dimpling is there. Okay. Here it has come out of the into the vagina. Body of the uterus protrudes to the cervix into the vagina. Here the third degree where it has come outside the vulva. Okay. What are the causes for this uterine inversion? Management of third stage of labor, mismanagement, mainly mismanagement of third stage of labor involving fundal pressure or cord traction before placental separation, or when the uterus is still relaxed. Only thing when you are supposed to do cord expression is only when the uterus is contracted, then only we have to separate the placenta, and we have to see for the signs of cord separation. What are the signs of cord separation? Number one, there will be minimum bleeding will be present through vagina. Number one. Number two, there will be lengthening of the cord will be present. Number three, suprapubic bulge over the symphysis pubis at the level of fundus. So there will be present. Number four one is the patient will have a small contraction at the placenta is trying to expel. Okay. These are the things which we have to keep in mind whether the placenta has separated or not. So whenever the mismanagement means, do you know about Reddy's method? They will give fundal pressure and they will pull the placenta. That is not correct. We have to do Brand Andrews technique, control traction and counter traction. That is important. Okay. And before not having the placental signs of placental separation, we are not supposed to pull the cord. Then abnormally short cord. If the short cord is there, there are chances for inversion of the uterus. Then sudden rise in intra-abdominal pressure due to maternal cough or vomiting. That also can lead to inversion, but it's very rare. But still, this is one also cord. And fourth one is the morbid adherent placentae. That is the reason we should always be careful by doing ultrasound in the last trimester, the placental site, and any adherence is there, we have to rule out. And manual removal of placenta also, and sometimes in connective tissue disorders like Marfan syndrome also, we can see this inversion of the uterus. What is the clinical presentation usually they can have? They'll have severe sustained hypogastric pain in the third stage of labor. Number one, whenever the uterus is getting dimpled or when it is inverting, there will be sustained hypogastric pain they can have. Next, the large boggy mass appearing at the introitus we can feel with or without placenta. We can see a large boggy mass appearing at the introitus. The patient may go into shock. In complete inversion, the uterus is not palpable per abdomen. See, usually we will see after delivery, or the baby, we can palpate the fundus of the uterus. But here, in complete, we can't palpate per abdomen. In incomplete uterine inversion, the fundus may appear normal because sometimes they can have only dimpling, isn't it, first degree. So in incomplete inversion, the fundus can be palpable, but in complete, we can't palpate the fundus. And how you are going to then, what are the problems you will come across when you get a inversion of the uterus? The patient may go into shock because of pain. There will be pain at the infundibulum because of the pull of the, there will be pain at the infundibulum pelvic ligament and nerves. She may go into shock. She may have hemorrhage. Number third one is amniotic fluid embolism. Number fourth one is she can go into infections, and morbidity can be present after the complete repositioning also. In acute uterine inversion, there will be easy to completely involute. That is, we can replace the fundus in normal position. In acute uterine inversion, a little bit of degree of relaxation will be present, so we can easily replace it. But after, in few minutes, when we can't replace immediately, it will become difficult. Then what are the things we have to do? We have to do anesthesia. We have to give. If one attempt fails, we can go for the, always call for the help. In these cases, don't take it granted that you can do it alone. Always take a help of a anesthetics, nursing staff, if possible, even your colleague also. After initial shock should be neurogenic type, we have to improve it. And if there is an hemorrhage, we have to start an IV line. If pain is the dominant symptom, we can give at least sedation also, we can give to that patient. Under general anesthesia, we will try to replace it into the uterine cavity. Use of prophylactics you can use. If the placenta is attached to the fundus, we can don't remove it, try to replace the fundus in position. If sometimes some people will remove the placenta, then only they will replace it. Manual replacement of placenta, once the fundus has been replaced, keep the hand in uterus while rapid infusion of oxytocin is given to contract the uterus. As soon as you replace the fundus into the position, don't remove your hand. You keep your hand in such a position that oxytocin side we have to start the infusion and the uterus should get contracted. Then only you can remove the hand. Within 2 hours of diagnosis, with suitable anesthesia and trocholysis, we can replace the uterus in position. If it is not possible, what are the methods we can do? Oscillate hydrostatic replacement technique is the number one. What we will do here is a large volume of warm fluid, 3 to 5 liters, will be instilled into the upper vagina so that it will distend the fornix and it will be easy for the replacement of the uterus fundus. That is number one. In case of failure, we can go for the 2 surgeries. Remember, abdominal variety is known as Huntington's operation. What we will do, we will open the abdominal cavity. Alice forceps are used to grasp the myometrium. Where we have to start, wherever the dimple we can see, we have to hold the at the level of fundus and we have to grasp with the Alice forceps and sequentially using forceps on both sides, the inverted fundus is withdrawn up and it should be corrected. In Halton's operation, when Huntington's technique is failed, unsuccessful, we can go for the Halton's operation. Here what we will do is posterior cervical ring is incised and the fundus is withdrawn up with Alice forceps. See, these are the surgical procedures. And vaginal root, some 2 surgeries are also there. Just remember the names, that will be more than enough. That is Spinella and Kitchener's also can be done. After the procedure, uterine replacement, it should be followed by oxytocin to keep the uterus contracted for 8 to 12 hours, and misoprostol also can be used. and after the procedure we have to use broad spectrum antibiotics. Okay. Thank you.